Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day, curd nerds, and welcome to Ask the Cheeseman. This is episode 168, so we're right up there. That's fantastic. Welcome, everybody, one and all, and hope you've got all your cheese-making questions ready to go. For those who don't know, I'm Gavin Weber, and I'm the chief curd nerd around here, and I'm going to try and answer, try being the operative word, try and answer your home cheese-making questions. So, with that out the way, lots of people in the chat today, which is absolutely fantastic. Great to see so many people watching the show. So let's do some shout outs and say g'day. Who have we got? First one appearing on my little dashboardy thing from when the show started was Martin. G'day, Martin from Scotland. We've got Paul. G'day, Paul. Ambrose. We've got all things CRT. We've got Kim, who is being the moderator today over on YouTube. We've also got Oswaldo. G'day, Oswaldo. Jason, Julia, Soher. English, please, mate. Can't understand Arabic. Michelle. G'day, Michelle. We've got, who else? Nicola. G'day, Nicola. And going back, I think we've got, who else we got? We've got Monique. G'day, Monique from Sydney. And we've got Patricia. We've got Shay. We've got Ron. G'day, Ron. We've got Ma. We've got Judy Mack. G'day, Judy. And I think that's about it so far. Oh, a few other popping in there. We've got Jan C. Oh, Janet. We've got Paul from Adelaide. Nice. G'day, Paul. We've got Kamini. I think that's how you say it. We've got Michelle. Patricia, you're so funny. Yes, I'll say some updates. We'll see what's going on. We got what have we got? All things CRT. I think I didn't miss that. Anyway, so let's get on. We've got some housekeeping to do here. G'day to new YouTube members, M. Cliff Cornett. Thank you, M or Cliff, for your YouTube membership. And we've got Kenda Dean. G'day, Kenda. Lovely to have you on board. Thank you for financially supporting the show. And no new patrons this week, but thank you to all the YouTube members and patrons who support the show financially. There are over 300 of you now, so thank you so much for supporting the show financially. Not only this live stream, but also the channel in general and all the cheese making stuff, so I can get new gear and new cheese making stuff. And if you've noticed in the background, there's probably Holly the dog sitting on the chair. There she is, getting comfortable. Lovely to see. Okay. So what else have I got here? Oh, okay. So I'm making cheese tomorrow because it's going to be too hot today in our kitchen. I think we're predicting 33 Celsius, so a little bit too warm to make cheese. So I'm going to focus on doing some gardening and getting some cheese products up online. But I will be making Colby tomorrow. So I'm going to rehash the Colby video. So I'm going to make a fresh batch of Colby. And I'm going to split it into two smaller 500-gram wheels of cheese. I'm using a new mold I've got, and I've got a friend that's printed off some what do they call it? What's a plastic printer thing? Anyway, printed off some cheese followers to fit the new baskets that I've got. So I've got to test those out tomorrow. And also, with all the whey that's left over, I will be making some bland, which is a fermented whey product. I've never made it before. So you ferment the whey, you add honey to the whey, so it's like a mead or metheglin. Yeah, so add honey to the whey, and we'll ferment it out. Yeah, 3D printing. Thank you, Kim. Sorry. And Russ and James, thank you very much. Yeah, plastic printing thingy. All righty, cool. All right, so that's what's going on. So let's get into some questions already. I'm sure we've got some here somewhere. Let's go down the list. Here's one from All Things CRT. What cheese does not use rennet? Well, there are a few actually. So cream cheese, you could get away with not using rennet. Definitely paneer, which is an acid set cheese. Also ricotta, which you can make from whey or from milk if you make a sweet ricotta or a white cheese. Let me think, what else? Well, that's a few anyway to get you started. So yeah, anyway, thanks All Things. Martin's got a question. Martin says, hey, Gavin, I have a question. My cave is a small fridge, so I only have 3 shelves to lay out single cheese wheels. Can you stack them or put them on their sides? How do I optimize my space? The question, yeah, good question, Martin. Yes, you can stack them. I wouldn't stack them more than 2 high, but you can put them on their sides. In fact, that well-known cheese, Roquefort, they actually stack them on their side and they turn the wheels like that when they mature, and they get optimum space. So they have, fairly slender sort of racks in the caves in Roquefort, and yeah, have them on their sides and rotate them sideways. So yeah, I couldn't see any problem with that. Okay, Jason has a question. Says, I attempted to make queso fresco from your video a few years ago, but the curds never formed. Was using whole milk. Temperature did get a little warm, but I'm not sure if it was the cause or not. Suggestions. Yeah, so with like any rennet set cheese, the milk's got to be slightly acidic, and you do that with starter cultures, even with queso fresco. Got to make sure that the milk is not ultra pasteurized or UHT, because it won't set a curd. So there's a few tips there. Temperature doesn't really matter too much as long as you don't go past about 38 Celsius, which is, I think, 38 Celsius is 100 Fahrenheit. As long as you don't go past that when you're doing the initial curd set, then you don't have too many problems at all. If it's warmer than that, yeah, you will have issues. It'll instantly set if the rennet works all right. So yeah, so there's a few suggestions. Okay. Questions from Jan. Jan said, or Janet, sorry, Janet. I made Havarti cheese, one dill and the other one plain. Aged in the cheese fridge with a plastic box to keep up the humidity. Looks and tastes good. Why does it smell like gym socks? Sounds like you may have a little bit of what's known as Brevibacteria linens. It's the orange or red mold that can grow on cheeses. It's fairly prevalent in most environments, and yeah, it can contaminate your cheese. And you'll find the telltale signs is that your cheese, the surface of the rind when it's been in the cheese fridge, it will be slightly tacky. That's a sign that Brevibacteria linens are starting to take hold on the surface of your cheese. So quite simply, easiest way to get rid of it is to wash it with a salt water solution. However, sometimes that actually promotes the smear, the orange smear, because you're washing and distributing the Brevibacteria linens all over the surface of the rind. But it actually does create a very nice cheese. All you have to do is air dry the cheese for about 2 or 3 hours before you consume it, and that smell goes away, totally goes away. So, great question. Thank you very much, Janet. We've got a question from Kamini. Kamini, yeah, that's how you say it. Hi, I'm from Algeria. Send me how to make soft cheese. Kim, if you can pop up a video for, let me think. Do the beginner's cheese video, and that'll point Kamini in the right direction. Okay. Patricia says, any updates on either the book volume 2 or on a video on Ways with Way? Smiley face. You're a bit of a running gag. But yeah, I actually have been working on the book, so that's a good thing. I've got about 5 more recipes to transcribe, and then flesh out the rest of the book. And then I will get it proofread and checked over by an editor, created into a PDF version and an EPUB version, and then release that on the normal places you release it. There will be a copy, I'll put that in Teespring, where my other book now resides, where a lot of people are picking that up in PDF. But yeah, and the Ways with Way video, we'll get there. Don't worry about that. There are so many ways with Way. I actually want to film the bland video to add that in as well. Alrighty, so we've got a super chat now. This is from, who's the super chat from? It's from Russ, I think. Yep, let's show that. Thank you, Russ. Appreciate your super chat. Your videos are so good. I want to buy you a beer. G'day from the US. Thank you very much, Russ. Appreciate it, mate. Okay, yeah, and Kim's put the link there for the cheese stuff. Right, let's have a look. Back to the questions. Where is it? Rightio. So the world's worst chess player. Welcome. Hello from the free and enlightened province of Nova Scotia. There's a few people from Nova Scotia on the chat today, which is fantastic. Ma says, my cheddar curds are always too soft. Can you cue me on that? Cheddar curds are too soft. So make sure that you're cutting them to the right size. I think the curds should be cut at, I think it's about 1.25 centimeters, which is half an inch. Make sure that when you're going through the cheddaring process that you follow it and make sure that follow it and get there. And you'll find enough whey drains off. Yeah, it's definitely in the cutting. It sounds like it to me. Anyway, so let's move along. Thank you very much, Ma. What cheese does not use rennet? I've already done that one. We've got Jim. G'day, Jim. Greetings. Trust you that you and Kim are doing well this week. Thank you, Jim. Yes, we are. Indeed. In fact, we did a lot of yard work yesterday out in the garden and had a really good time doing it. The backyard's starting to look really nice. Question from Marianne. Thank you, Marianne. I made a parmesan the other day, and once out of the brine, it dried very quickly. Is this a problem? The dryness seems grainy. Yeah, I think you may have stirred too long. It's the recipe timings are arbitrary. You've really got to keep an eye on it and have a look at the cheese. I know you stir parmesan for a fair amount of time, but before you mold it, what I do, I test the curd. And you may have seen me do that. Let me just get rid of that so you can see my hands. So I put my hand into the pot, grab nice clean hands, of course. Grab a lump of curds, squish them together, and then with my thumb, and if they stay together, that's a good sign. And then if you press it with your thumb and they just fall apart, then that is even better. That's when your curds are cooked. Now, Parmesan curds are very, very small, better grain of rice, as you know. And they do tend to dry out fairly quickly. And yeah, with brining, it helps extract the moisture as well. So yeah, just be careful with that. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Oops. Oh, hello from Virginia. That's Russ. Sorry, mate. Kim says we had a lovely day in the garden with the dogs. Yes, we did, indeed, and it was nice temperature. Okay. Michelle, I think it's, yep, Michelle says, thank you for your videos. Currently aging a Camembert, a Formdon Bear, and Colby, a Tete de Moine, not my recipe, and Gruyere. Well done. Thank you very much. And hope your cheeses all turn out all right, Michelle. Another question from Kamini, and we'll get to that super chat in a second. Not sure. That's from Martin. I'll get to that in a second, Martin. But I'll get rid of the light so it doesn't hurt people's eyes. Kamini says, how to get rid of the acidity of milk? I don't know. The acidity of milk is supposed to be acidic, or it won't set a curd if you're making cheese. So not sure where you're getting to there. Where are we? Jaden said, I know we've got to do the super chat. Martin says, thank you for your £5, Martin. I made Cambenzola once. The white mold formed. I pierced to oxygenate. The Roquefort. I used a slim knitting needle, but no blue inside after ripening. Thanks. The problem with Cambenzola, and I found it myself when I made it, is it's a fight. It's a fight between the two penicilliums. So Penicillium camberti, or our Penicillium candidum, or the Penicillium roqueforti. So one of them eventually wins. It's a very fine balance. So if you have trouble in future, what you can do, and I noticed when they make Forme d'Ambert in the factories, what they do is they sprinkle the Roquefort powder over all the cheese curds before they mold it. So instead of adding it to the milk, they add it to the curds. So what you could do is, when you make Cambenzola again, is definitely add the Penicillium candidum to the milk, but hold off on the blue mold and sprinkle a little bit of that through the curds, and then mold it and see how you go. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll fix up your problem, Martin. Okay. Jaden says, what's the hardest cheese to make? Well, it's all relative, really. If you'd never made cheese before, your first one's got to be the hardest one to make, isn't it? But as far as getting your cheese spot on, some of the blue ones are a little bit finicky, and so are the white mold cheeses. It's all in the affinage, really. So, Jaden, when you're making the cheese is fairly simple for most cheeses. If you've had a little bit of experience, if you're a beginner, obviously, like I said, everything's going to be hard. When you're maturing the cheese, that is when the difficulty or experience kicks in, and you can understand what's going on. Is it too humid? Is it too dry? Is the mold growing? If you want mold, why is mold growing when you don't want mold? How do I clean the mold off? All that sort of stuff. So it's a long period of time. The aging is the most difficult part of cheese making, I find. In fact, that's why a lot of commercial cheese makers or artisan cheese makers simply make the cheese, keep it in their their cheese cave for about a week, and then they sell that off to cheesemongers, and it's up to the cheesemonger to do the affinage, or the maturation of the cheese. And that's a full job in itself, is maturing the cheese. So yeah, that happens in the real world. Okay. What's this one? This one's from Leg Cat. Nice picture. It is the Lord of Cheese, and all hail to the Lord of Cheese. Very nice. Thank you very much. Let's have a look. I can hear Hamish barking down the other end of the house, but that's okay. Amiga Studio says, hey, I and my family have blood pressure, hypertension, and would like to get some grating hard cheese without any salt to reduce our sodium intake. What do you think about potassium chloride as a substitute? I think it would be a bad idea. Unfortunately, you can't use a substitute salt. So sodium chloride is the only salt that I know of. What's going on? Hamish has escaped. Sodium chloride is the only salt that I know of that actually works in cheese making. It's a preservative, it adds flavour, and if you ease off too much on salt or omit it totally and only use, say, potassium chloride, the problem is that the cheese does not mature properly. What happens is that the starter cultures continue to eat lactose within the cheese, and what happens there is that it becomes more acid. It can become more bitter as a result of not enough salt. So salting the cheese is very important in the cheese making process. So very hard to substitute. If you find any low salt cheeses, then they've done something special there. So not too sure how to make that. So anyway, moving right along, I hope that answered your question, that really you can't make low salt cheeses unless you make, say, fresh cheeses. Yeah, you don't really need a lot of salt in fresh cheeses at all. In fact, you don't need any salt. You could use probably potassium chloride for sure or any fake salt or, salt substitute in fresh cheeses, because they don't need to mature. You eat them straight away. It's only the cheeses that you can't sub the salt out that are long aging, so anything more than 2-3 weeks. So I hope that helps. Okay. Do we have any tips for sorry, all things CRT? Do you have any tips for the beginner cheesemaker? Yes, be good to your mother. There's a tip. It's always a good tip in life. No, really. Kim, if she's back in the office after letting Hamish outside, can you pop up the link to the beginner's cheeses link if you haven't already? She may have already put it into the chat on Facebook, which is where all the links are appearing. So hope that helps. There's a whole cheese video on beginner's cheeses. Late to the show, Manel. G'day, Manel. Lovely to see you, mate. Question from Michelle again. And Michelle says, other than Colby, which other cheeses can we age vacuum sealed, or at least that you successfully tried? So basically all semi-hard and hard cheeses that don't require mold growth, like as in white or blue or orange molds or red molds. So any semi-hard, hard cheeses can be safely vac packed without too many troubles. The only one that I find that you may come into issues with is anything that requires eye formation. So any cheeses like Jarlsberg or Leerdama or Emmentaler, those sort of cheeses that develop eyes because you've added in propionic Shimani, I tend to wax those ones or leave them with a rind so they can expand. You find that if you vacuum pack them, the atmospheric pressure caused by the vacuum in the bag keeps the cheese flat, and it doesn't allow for very good eye development at all. So you can safely vacuum pack any cheese that you would normally wax. I don't find that there's too much of a difference in flavor personally, and I haven't done a blind test like waxed one cheese and vacuum packed the other and tasted them. Probably would make a good video, but who's got time for that? So yeah, we make the cheeses, get on with it, and get on with the next one, and then eat that one when it's finished. Anyway, so hopefully that answers your question. All right, so the next question, this is from Booker Limited, I think so. That's what you say. Thanks for the sodium citrate video. Just finished making some. Tomorrow will be smash burgers with silky, smooth, melty Gouda and cheddar combo. Very nice indeed. So yeah, that was a fairly simple chemistry experiment, making the sodium citrate from citric acid and sodium bicarbonate. work fairly well. And yeah, it's a great emulsifier for cheese and stops the, when you melt some cheeses, um, the fats and the milk solids separate and you get this slimy kind of mess. And it doesn't look very good on your toasted cheese sandwiches or what have you. But the addition of sodium citrate to any cheese you've got lying around the house turns it into a nice runny, or even depends on how much water you add with the sodium citrate, how firm. And if Kim's there somewhere, can you add in the link to the American cheese video if anybody wants to check that out. Okay. Thanks, Booker Limited. Carl says, having made the Persian feta, I forgot I had it as it was in the back of the fridge. It's a big fridge. Fast forward 6 months. It's a fine, creamy, firm cheese. Thanks. Indeed. Yeah, it does age quite well in the fridge. I've left it up to a year with no issues whatsoever. Matures well at that nice cool temperature in the fridge, and the oils and kind of protects it. And that herb infusion is absolutely delicious. So that'll be good. Okay. Matthew G says, flocculation, question mark. Indeed, flocculation is the curd word for the year. I think I'm not sure what you're referring to, but there is a video I made called Flocculation and how to get a better curd set with that. So, Kim, if you can find the link, not sure if you're there or not. Yes, she is. Can you put the link for the flocculation video in there for Matthew G? And it explains everything, mate. To flocculate just means to small particles meld together. So that's flocculation. Okay. Jaden has asked, have you ever tried making chirpy, the hard Nepalese cheese? No, I don't have any yaks. Unfortunately, chirpy's made with yak's milk. So no yaks here where I live. So unfortunately, I cannot do that. Jan says, I'm going to use calcium chloride granulated food grade, of course. How many teaspoons do I dissolve in water for a 2-gallon batch? And can you put too much calcium chloride in your cheese? Yes, you can. You can put too much because it tends to make the cheese a little bit bitter. Add the same amount of calcium chloride as you do the rennet. That's my rule of thumb, and that works very well. As far as calcium chloride, the granulated stuff, make it so it should be 30% solution. So 70% water, 30% of the powder. Do it all in grams, and you won't have too many problems at all. If you're looking for a method, if you pop over to the blog of Ian Trower called Much Ado About Cheese, he's actually got a blog post on how to make calcium chloride up from a powder. Very good little instructions. And then when you do make it up, the 30-70 batch, then just add it as per normal, because that's exactly what I use. All right. Donna says, great advice to be good to your mother. Indeed, it is great advice. Let's have a look. Rachel says, g'day from the UK. Thank you, Rachel. And g'day to you too. Question from Sparse Insanity says, I don't have a cheese cave. Where else can I age my cheese? Great question. So, there are lots of recipes that you can age your cheeses in the kitchen fridge, and there's no problems with that at all. So there's some great recipes. So if you have a look, if Kim can dig up the link, I don't know what she's doing. I think she's there. Yes. Dig up the link for Bel Paese, and you'll find a fantastic cheese. Oh, that's a reminder for the gallery, which we'll do in a second. So yeah, Bel Paese, great cheese, matures in the fridge, no problems at all. Tastes absolutely fantastic. A lot of people could be a testament to that. And yeah, it's a really, really great cheese. All right, time for the gallery, Curd Nerds. Oh, pardon me, little burp slipped out there. Let's not do that. Um, let's share the screen, and we'll have a look at. Oh, we'll turn it on. Let's hope that all works. Okay. Let me just do a quick test just to make sure that it's actually on the screen. Oh, here we go. Oh, yes, it worked. Fantastic. All right. So this is a photo of some halloumi. Oh, yeah, that's my photo. I don't know, I slipped this one into the gallery. Yeah, Kim was cleaning out the fridge, as you do often. And I've got a mountain of cheese in there, of course. So we had some halloumi left from that video that I made. I did that the Great Cypriot fry-off. So this is some of the cheese made with Jersey milk, the halloumi, and I fried it up and we had it for breakfast. Oh, I tell you what, best breakfast. Breakfast of champions is halloumi, I tell you. Delicious cheese. Anyway, on to other people's pictures. This one's from Judy McDonald. I think Judy's in the chat. Thank you, Judy. This is her Shropshire Blue, which she's managed to get it to form together. And in this picture, she has smoothed down the surface of the rind to get it to kind of contain a little bit, and then wrapped it in the moist cheesecloth to help it grow, which is fantastic. So that should turn out to be a lovely cheese, Judy. So well done, you. This is from Marcel Van Blurk in Cape Town in South Africa. And he's made some halloumi there and he's fried it up. Looks absolutely yummy. And out of the way from the halloumi, he made some mysost, which is the Norwegian brown cheese. So that looks absolutely spreadable, that's for sure, and looks delicious as well. This one's from Monique Henderson, and I think Monique's in the chat somewhere too. She made this vegan cashew blue cheese, and just thought she'd throw that one in there. Now, I've got a bit of a description. I'll read this out. It says, this picture prompts a good reason to encourage vegans to make vegan cheese from soaked and blended cashew nuts. Customers can purchase your vegan cheese making kit. Yes, please. Because cheese making is for everybody and vegans need not miss out on all the fun. This is my vegan blue cheese using cashews, Penicillium roquefort 40, and vegan meso. I used a YouTube video from a channel called Gourmet Vegetarian Kitchen, and the recipe was called Artisan Vegan Blue Cheese Cashew Roquefort 40. It is so good. Creamy and dreamy. The longer it gets to mature in the fridge, the stronger it becomes, and beautiful on sourdough bread with tart tasting jams or tart fruits. So there you go. So that looks absolutely lovely. I would like to try some of that, that's for sure. But yeah, it's got some nice veins there and everything. Well done, Monique. Thank you for sending that in. This is from Tom Livermore, and Tom has whipped up 2 cease and desist cheeses, the cheese that shall not be named on the channel. They look very grainy there, Tom, so well done you. And he's also made a raw milk cam blue, so he's got some nice white mold on the outside. I absolutely love the runniness of the cheese in the center, and the blue veining in the middle. That looks absolutely fantastic. So that is the gallery. So thanks very much for everybody who sent them in. If you want to send in your gallery pictures, then please do so. Just go to the About tab of the channel, and you'll see the email address for that. Okay. We've got a super chat that happened during the gallery, so we'll just pop that up there. Thank you so much to the Toys Are for Boys. $6.66 Canadian. Who loves cheese? I do, you do, we all do. Yes, I agree. Thank you very much. Lovely. Okay. We've got some. Let's have a look. back to the questions. Again, we've got 25 minutes left. Now, I'm not going to get to all of them as always, but we'll get, where is it? Here we go. So here's a good question. This is from Dale, and Dale says, can you explain the difference between cheese salt and iodized cheese salt and the consequences of using the wrong one? So technically, cheese salt can be any salt that is non-iodized. And the reason we don't use iodized salt, which is the addition of iodine to the salt, which a lot of European countries do, because iodine tends to, what does it do? What do they add it? They add it for background radiation. Tends to be a lot of that around there. It actually prevents the thyroid gland from, is it being infected by strontium? I think that strontium 90. That rings a bell anyway. But anyway, besides that, the addition of iodine to salt and into your cheese, if you're making an aged cheese, is it kills off, the iodine kills off the starter bacteria. So it also inhibits rennet action. Oh no, sorry, that's chlorine. I got that totally wrong. Don't worry about that. So yeah, so the iodine in the salt will kill off any of the starter bacteria within the cheese. So that's a bad thing. But yeah, you can use coarse salt, a fine salt, as long as it doesn't have iodine in it. Okay, great question. Got another super chat there. This is, well, let me just kill the light and I'll find it. It is 20 Mexican, I'm not sure, pesos, I think. No, not sure. But thank you very much. Hermosilio, I think that's how you pronounce it. Thank you so much. From Mexico. Lovely. Thank you so much, mate. Yes, Kim said Hamish is testing his vocal cords out today. I don't know if you can hear it on the stream, but the microphone tends to pick up all that sort of stuff. But yeah, he's in the in the other room where the moderator is, and he's barking his little head off because he can. He loves all that. Anyway, Lordy says, can I freeze cultured buttermilk? Yes, I can't see why you couldn't, because essentially it's full of lactic bacteria, mainly aromatic, the form aromatic mesophilic strains. But yeah, you can freeze it and then use it as an aromatic mesophilic for cheeses later on, because when you make a mother culture, a lot of people don't sell those anymore. Most people sell, like myself, the cultures that are direct vat inoculated. So you just sprinkle the powder over the milk, basically. But back in the old days, they made a thing called a mother culture, and you can actually look like little blocks of yogurt. They put them in ice trays and freeze them, and then when you want to make a cheese, you take a couple of the ice blocks and you put them into the milk, and that's how you get your cheese inoculated. So that works. Sticks asks, what are all the crests and stuff over your right shoulder? So right shoulder, that way. Over here. So I was in the Navy for 20 years, the Royal Australian Navy, and these are some of the ships that I served on. So the one far over here is HMAS Adelaide, which is no longer. It's now an artificial reef. It was a Oliver Hazard Perry class ship, warship, and I served on that for quite a few years, and actually went to the First Gulf War on that ship. The second one is HMAS Canberra, which I served on twice. So I two tours of duty on that ship. And the last crest is HMS King Alfred, where I served for about 6 months, and I met the lovely Kim Webber over there in the United Kingdom. So there you go. So that's the crest. Thanks, Sticks, for asking something like that. So a little bit different. Jonathan says, do you have any of that triple pepper jack left? I think the video was made over 2 years ago. So no, mate, we ate it all. I even made I did have a little bit left, and I decided to make spicy American cheese with that. So Kim, if you could find the link, then yeah, for the spicy American cheese, and you'll see Exactly what I did with it, Jonathan. Okay. Let's have a look. Brad says, I love cheese. I love beer. Have you heard of beer washed brie being made anywhere? What styles of beer do you think would work best? Strong Belgians, hazy IPAs, sours, pils, lagers, etc. We'll get to the super chat in a sec. Beer washed brie, no, because the white mold wouldn't work so well. However, beer washed rind cheeses, no problems at all. If you even have a look at the mead washed cheese that I made not so long ago, you can substitute that with a good beer, no problems at all. So any of the washed rind sort of cheeses, you can certainly make a beer wash. Or even if you've seen some of the other ones that I've made recently, I made a stout cheddar where I soaked the curds in stout. I've also made a dark ale and mustard cheese, which is maturing in the cheese cave at the moment, and that absolutely smelt fantastic when I put it into the vac-pack bag, and we vac-packed that up. So that's cool. So yeah, you could check that out. This one's from Sticks. Says, I've made some Norwegian cheese and it was like a brick. You could break a window with it. Yeah, indeed. If you cook it down too much, it goes very dry. I find that the addition of a bit of cream certainly helps when you're making it. Now, there was a super chat there. I missed it. Sorry. I didn't mean to. That was from Patricia. Thank you, Patricia. And thank you for your kind $5 Canadian. It says, if Penicillium roque 40 spots appear on the surface of an aging brie, how would you go about cleaning it without disturbing the white bloom? I've seen this before, and it's been a pain in the bottom. So what I basically did was, with a sanitized knife, I just scraped the blue off the surface and just dabbed it with a little cloth with a little bit of vinegar. The good thing is the white then grew all over once the blue was removed. So that worked. So give that a try. So sanitized knife, scrape the blue off. You may even need to cut into the paste a little bit. Don't dig too deep, of course. And then the white bloom should grow all over again. Like I said, dab it a little bit with the cloth with some vinegar. I think I added some salt to it. So a little bit of salt and vinegar, and then it worked fine. Hope that helps for you, Patricia. And thank you for your super chat. Appreciate it. Okay. Dale says, thank you for serving and returning to be able to do these streams. No problems at all, mate. It was a bit of a hairy time on the Adelaide, that's for sure. But the rest of the ships were a doddle. But weren't a doddle. It was hard work being in the Navy, I must admit. Certainly have a lighter time of it these days, that's for sure. But yeah, thanks to everybody out there who's serving currently. Let's have a look. I'm sure there are some more questions here somewhere. Kim says cheese for breakfast again, I think. Oh, indeed. I think I've still got some halloumi, Kimmy. So we'll get some of that after we finish the show. Ligat says, hi, I'm Samaya from Algeria. I cannot find a natto. Can use... Huh? Coup? No, I'm not sure what that is. And about the pressure and weight, depends on the cheese or the quality of the cheese. I can answer the question one for the weight one for you. Yeah, so the weight depends on how firm the cheese needs to be. So pressing obviously expels whey. Whey is the moisture within the cheese, and the less whey in the cheese, the harder and firmer the cheese is going to be. Obviously, the cutting of the curd, this curd size before you even press it, is a big determination, in fact, on the absolute moisture in the cheese as well. So I hope that answers that question. As for the annatto, I have seen people add turmeric to cheese, but it actually imparts a little bit of a taste. But that does color as well. They used to use carrot juice as well in the milk to give it a bit of color. So there's a couple of hints as well. But don't add food coloring, whatever you do. It's not good for the cheese. It looks bloody terrible. Alrighty. Another question. This one's from Robert. Says, how to adapt a good humidity level in my cheese cave. I've got 75%, but Gouda needs 85%. Indeed. So what I tend to do, Robert, is not maintain the humidity in the cheese fridge at all. Too much of a pain in the bottom. Don't worry about it. So I put all my cheeses that I need to have some sort of humidity, like making a natural rind or any bloomy cheeses or blue cheeses or even washed rind cheeses. I put them in ripening boxes, and you would have seen in some of the videos that I use this red ripening box. It's quite wide, and you can put quite a few cheeses in there if you're making smaller ones. So that keeps it at about 80% humidity just by keeping the lid on and keeping the cheese in the box. If you want to raise the humidity a little bit more, I put a damp piece of paper towel in the bottom under the rack, under the mat, and that raises the humidity up to about 85, 90%. So that seems to work very well. Hope that answers your question. Okay. Martin says, that petite blue looks lovely. So jealous. That was how my Gambanzola was meant to look. Indeed, mate. Indeed. All Things CRT says, how to make cheddar cheese without a cheese press. Very difficult, actually. Very hard to press a cheese without some sort of makeshift cheese press. Kim, if you can pop up the video link to the do-it-yourself cheese presses, that will give All Things CRT a little bit of a push in the right direction for homemade cheese presses. And really, if you want to, you can buy one of mine. And we have cheese presses for sale, that's for sure. Okay. Let's have a look. Here's a good response to the there we go. Safflower is a better substitute than turmeric, but either will work. Oh, well done. Well done. Love it when people answer some of the questions that I don't really have too much of an answer for, but thank you so much. Oliver says, hey there, Gav. Do you think the best choice of blue cheese would be for a thin crust pizza? I'm a blue buff and would love to come up with my own pizza-based recipe around blue. The best choice of blue. Maybe I wouldn't use... I'd use some of the creamier blues, like the Danish blue, Castile blue. That's a good one. Even my petite blue was a good choice. So the runnier sort of blue cheeses on pizza, they would spread and you get a nice flavour. If you use things like Shropshire blue or the Stilton, those versions are a little bit firmer and they may not melt as well. But you'll have crumbly bits of blue all over the cheese, over the pizza, so that will probably work as well. So there's a few suggestions. Let's have a look. Question from, have you ever thought about making vinegar as it's similar to making cheese? No, I haven't. I thought of making vinegar. A good suggestion though, Jaden, but no, I didn't. Yeah, and it needs a mother culture called what's it called? Oh, I can't remember. It's a mother. It's the blobby stuff. When you leave vinegar in the cupboard for a long time, like an apple cider vinegar, and there's a little blob in there that is called, well, it's called the mother of vinegar, is what they used to call it. And yeah, you just transfer that over to any fermented drink like wine or something like that, and it turns it into vinegar. It's pretty cool stuff. Okay. What's the time? We've got 9 minutes to go. The toys are for boys question. Do you have a list of camera mic setup you use for live stream? Very crisp video and clean audio. I don't have a list per se, but what I can say is I'm using a Panasonic Lumix G7 as the camera. and that's going in via a what's it called? An Elgato HD60S into the PC via USB. So that's why the video is so clean. It's a proper camera. It's not a webcam or anything. The audio is courtesy of a Rode NTG video mic that's plugged in via USB as well. So that syncs up the audio, and that's why it sounds so nice. And obviously the lighting, you always got to have good lights. And you may see the shadow of one of the lights there in the curd thing. I've got two Elgato key lights that light it up, and I can control them via my little controller. This is what it looks like when you don't have good lighting. This is what it looks like when you do have good lighting. So yeah, there you go. So that's a few things. And I got a stream deck from Elgato as well. They do lots of good streaming stuff. Anyway, and I did make a video on that a long time ago, and as Nicholas says, but I probably need to refresh it because I do have updated a lot of gear courtesy of all the funds that people have been patrons and YouTube members to up the game so people can enjoy the videos a little bit better. Okay. Andy has a question, and he says, just discovered you live. I'm a huge fan. Thanks, Andy, for such just discovered me. Can you explain the different numbers on mesophilic and thermophilic cultures? Yep, there's a video for that. Kim, if you can find the link, if Hamish isn't mucking around too much, it's around starter cultures. So the difference is in starter cultures, and yeah, you should be good to go there, Andy. It certainly helps out. Okay. That's a good question from Sticks. How was the cheese in the Navy? I lived on a ship for a while, and the cheese got worse when we switched from a Dutch to an American supplier. Frozen cheese was just weird. Weird question, not weird question, good question. I really wasn't into cheese back then. It's only since I actually started making my own that I got into cheese back in 2009. Sure, I used to have cheese platters, but, you know, I didn't know what tastes went together and all that sort of stuff. But, yeah, and cheese in the Navy, goodness me, that would be just on the top of your potato au gratin that you had for dinner. They would have used some sort of shredded cheese monstrosity that they kept in the freezer, that's for sure. Anyway, let's have a look. Here's a question from Angela. It says, I've been wanting to ask you if you ever made zigakays. It's a whey-based and soaked in wine and a salt brine. No, I don't, but I do. I'm pretty sure I have a recipe for it. We'll write that one down and put it as a potential to my list of cheeses to make. The list is endless. But yeah, thanks, Angela, for the prompt. That is cool. Okay. Equipment. This is a good question from Joseph. Says, what are some good starter equipment cheese suggestions? So I actually did a video on equipment. So Kim, if you can find the equipment video where I described everything about equipment, that would be fantastic. And that would help out Joseph to no end. Okay. How many more we got? Right, 6 minutes to go. Jan says, I've heard you can make an MA 4000 and 4000 series by Danisco by mixing MA11 and C201. What ratio do you use? I've never done that. I've always used the MA 4000 series, but MA11 and is also by Danisco, I think, and it contains two starter cultures, the Lactobacillus subspecies lactis and Lactobacillus lactis subspecies cremora. The C201 from New England Cheesemaking Supplies contains Streptococcus thermophilus, which is a thermophilic culture, and I think it also has Lactobacillus lactis helvetica, which is another thermophilic starter culture. So yes, you could mix those two together and make something like MA 4000 series, but I would have no idea what the ratios are because the ratios are a commercial secret. So unfortunately, I can't really help. Try half and half. You can't do any worse than that, really. All righty. Moving right along. Question from Could Try Harder says, "Hey Gavin, thanks for the videos. Do you still use the pizza oven?" Indeed. In fact, last season we didn't. Last winter, we only use it in winter because in Australia the summers are too hot, and we have things called fire bans, so you can't really use it. But in winter, yeah, definitely. But last season, because they were building the studio, we actually had to pull the fluid out of it so they could actually bring the panels for the studio through the area to get to the backyard. So this winter, though, we will be eating pizza till the cows come home in our pizza oven. Pardon me, pizza oven. James says, just before we wrap up, do you do international sales? Yes, at the moment we do. We ship to all over Australia, of course. New Zealand, we ship to New Zealand, United States of America, Canada, Singapore, Malaysia, Turkey, of all places as well. Because at the moment, Australia Post are having difficulties getting anything other than express post stuff through to most countries. Plus, due to some tax laws, the EU and UK we're not shipping to those at the moment because I can't collect tax for them. We're not big enough as a business, that's for sure. But yes, international sales to the USA, indeed we do, is the question. Okay. What is Kim giving me the wrap up? Let's have a look. No, she hasn't at the moment. Let's have a look. Do we have any recipe for cheese curds? I want to practice making cheddar with them. Lordy, yeah, there is a recipe. I don't know if Kim's found it, but I think she gave me the wind up. But yeah, there is squeaky cheese curds. There is some there, so go and check those out. There's a video for that. And Kim is giving me the wrap up. So sorry if I didn't get to everybody's questions, which obviously I didn't. There are lots of them. If you want to support us, hang on, let's don't know what's going on here with the merch link. There we go. There's the merch for t-shirts and stuff and cups and you name it. It's over at cheeseman.tv.creator-spring.com, and that's where it lives. But you can go to the merch shelf down in the bottom of the video. Yeah, so that's one cool place. Don't forget you can support us over on Patreon, get different tiers of stuff over there. So that's cool. And lucky last, that's about it, I think. Don't forget that you can also pop over, get your cheese gear to all those countries that I just mentioned over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Thanks for turning up today. I really appreciate it because without you curd nerds being on the stream, there would not be a show because that's where I get the questions and the content. So keep asking those questions. If I didn't get you today, sorry about that. But yeah, I try my best to get as many as we possibly can. So thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And don't forget, we'll be here next week as well, as far as I know. Yeah, we'll see you next time. But you watch out for the Colby video. That should be out. Ooh, not too sure what's going on. Oh, we've got a little doggo. Before we go, I was just about to hit the trigger, the button. Here we go. Oh,
noisy dog.
Noisy doggo. This is the one making all the noise in the background. Hamish McTavish. There he is. Look at the camera, Hamish. Just there. Just there. No, not at me. Over there. Look. Look. There he is. Over there. Look. What's that? There. No? All right. Anyway, off we go. See you later. All righty. So we will see you next week. Thanks, Curd Nerds. Bye-bye.